The EP Heard everywhere podcasts can be found, and always at the EPPodcast.com.
And belly on up to my 9-foot homemade oak bar, my basement here in Evergreen Park, and pour yourself a cold one. This is the EP Podcast. My name is Chris Lanuti. Next week on this program, the new fire chief of Evergreen Park will be sitting down here. We also have all the details for a big hockey tournament. It's free for you to watch. There'll be tailgating, games, prizes, all kinds of fun, kicking off the month of March here in the EP. Last week's episode, which you should check out if you missed it, the village is kicking off a 20-year project to replace all of the lead pipe feeding water into your home. You're going to want to hear about that. There's a couple of great medical segments from OSF Little Company of Mary over the last couple episodes. Make sure you are subscribed and make sure you're following us on all the social media channels. Now let's talk about this week on the EP Podcast. Both school districts are on this program. It's all about coaching teachers, coaching students, coaching wrestlers, coaching dancers, and it's all brought to you by the First National Bank of Evergreen Park. Your child's bright financial future starts with learning good money habits early on in life. Get them a junior savers account. Little Nicky Lanuti's got one here in this house. I get a statement each and every month. I can show him how his money is growing. He gets interest on every dollar he deposits. Show your kids how fun and rewarding saving can be and set them up for success. Plus, link it to your account already over at the bank. It's easy to transfer some money in every once in a while for the kids. No minimum deposit to open. Get over there today in that iconic building at 95th and Pulaski. Say hi to them and learn all about that account and so many more options available to you and your family and your business. The First National Bank of Evergreen Park, member FDIC. The EP Podcast has a couple of folks from Central Middle School, District 124 down here today. And I'm interested in what they do because they came down here and they're already trying to describe it to me. I'm like, whoa, we're going to save this for the interview. But we have Matt Werman here with us. We have Julie Kelly. Welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks for coming by. All right. So break this down for me. You're not exactly teachers, but you work with the teachers. You're essentially coaches over at Central. Tell me a little bit about this.
Sure. Yeah. So we are instructional coaches. We've both been teaching about 20 years. But now in our instructional coach role, we're really here to support teachers in different ways. So, there's so much demand. Teachers are demanding to do so many things. And so we're really here to, support them and help them to meet their goals.
All right. So what kind of goals are we talking about here, Julie? I mean, it sounds to me like they're putting together their lesson plans, I would assume. They're teaching the kids on an everyday basis. They're, I know if they have to deal with a problem in the classroom, there's deans that are over there now. So there's a lot of support that's around them. So where do you guys step in?
So we step in on the instructional side. So everything that we do is based on student achievement, student growth. We spend time with teachers planning. We also spend time looking at data, seeing where students are, where gaps are, where we can focus our instruction, and how to engage students in that process. So really, we are there for the instructional support.
So it's more big picture because I would think back to my kids who are now older. I mean, one's in college at U of I, and I have another one that's a junior in high school, and they were not over at Central. Okay, but every school and every school system will have similar problems, right? Like my junior just went and took the ACT this past weekend, and he came back and said the same thing that his older sister had said. There's some stuff on there that I've never seen before, right? And I remember when his sister, even though she was a COVID kid, she basically lost the last couple months of her grammar school or 8th grade year and went into high school with everybody doing it from home. She was also behind in certain sciences. Her school just did not cover things that the high school thought they should already know. So there were these gaps, as you're describing. With you guys working so closely with the high school and you being the jump that gets them ready to go to Evergreen Park Community High School or wherever they go. Is that one of the main things, trying to make sure you're looking at test scores, you're looking at what the high school's looking for and trying to make sure the teachers are on that track?
Yeah, we're looking at that, but we're also looking at even breaking it down even more with student work in the classroom. So we're looking at kind of at that macro level that you just talked about of the big picture, and then also narrowing it down to what each individual classroom, each individual student's needs are as well.
Yeah. So a teacher may come to us and just say, I feel like my student engagement isn't as good as I want it to be. And so we say, okay, well, let's work on student engagement. So
that's just getting them to raise their hand though, right?
Well,
no?
More
okay. All right. I'm a simpleton over here, but I mean, like I'm saying, you're like student engagement. I'm like, okay, they're not raising their hand enough. Like that. Okay. So tell me what that is.
But yeah, student engagement really being participating. I mean, it's more than just the old school way is, there's the sage on the stage, the teacher talks, students take notes. We've evolved quite a bit from that today. And so student engagement is like, there's a lot of student discourse among the students, students, just kind of working through the problems or whatever it might be in the classroom. And so the teacher may say, my students are not as engaged as they should be. And so we'll come in and say, okay, well, let's first take some data on that. Let me just watch your class and see how many kids are raising their hands, see how many kids are doing the work, see how many kids are completing the assignments. And then we're like, all right, well, we've got a handful of strategies from different sites, different books we read, and let's just try one. And maybe Julie and I will come in and model that technique for the teacher. And then we'll kind of take data again. Now you try the technique and then we'll see. Did more students get engaged? Was this new novelty thing? Was that more fun for students? They seem to be more excited about it. And we'll kind of look at that data and then figure out, what else we can do to keep those kids participating and engaged.
Julie, what Matt's describing here sounds more like a teacher comes to you and says, I need help with this, than you are just lurking and showing up in the back of the classroom, right?
100%.
Because when you guys started describing your thing, I'm like, these are the guys that when a teacher's doing a class and all of a sudden they're in the back of the classroom, like, it's going to be one of those days. They're asking you to come in because they're noticing something's a little off. And what's interesting about this is very forward thinking to me. That's my impression of this, hearing this for the first time. I think back to my time as a student a long time ago, and the teacher used the same lesson plan that they had used for 20 years. And you had to conform to that lesson plan. And if you weren't keeping up, it was clearly the student's problem. And they didn't really look at it as that everybody learns a little bit differently. Everybody comes from a little bit of a different place. And while that may sound soft to some people, that is the reality. And you want the kids to learn and excel as fast and as well as they possibly can. So it sounds to me like nowadays you'll get a teacher that'll sit there and say, look, I'm trying what used to work. Something's not right here. I need another set of eyes. That's what you guys are.
Absolutely. We are that other set of eyes. And we're there to help teachers feel confident about what they're doing, to feel like they can make a difference, because that makes the most effective teacher. And it's impossible to do by yourself in the world of education today. So we're there to support them.
Do either of you have I hate to throw you, out on the spot, but an example of something recently that you kind of tried? Because to me, it sounds like it sounds simple, but I'm sure it's not simple, right? Like the idea that you have a teacher that says, hey, come on in here, or we got to get these scores up, or we got to do whatever. It doesn't sound like, it sounds like, I just come in, I see something, I go, hey, I read this thing in a book one time, try this, and it's done. But I know it's not that simple. Can you kind of explain it a little bit to me?
I'll give one example from something we did last week. We had some teachers who came to us and said that we're noticing that students aren't asking good questions, because questioning is part of the learning process, right?
Right.
And we've noticed that we're just not getting those higher level questions from our students, and everything's kind of surface level. Can you help us? So we did a professional development during our teachers' plan time, their team plan time last week, on how to encourage students to write higher level questions so that they could then bring those right back into the classroom. Learning today
that has to be interesting.
It is
try
interesting.
to get kids to write these days.
Right.
I found out this week. I was today years old when I found out that this generation thinks that when I put a period after the word okay,
You're
that
mad.
I'm angry with them. Oh my God, that's true. She just said it. That I'm mad. That I'm mad. My son told me that. He goes, when you write okay with a period after it, it sounds like you're yelling at me. I go, what kind of weird hocus pocus are you talking about? He goes, no, because you took the time to hit the extra key. So you must be ticked off at me. And I said, no, I was taught this is how you write sentences. He goes, yeah, you use punctuation in between every word and it really sounds angry. I'm like, because it's supposed to be there. There's no commas in what you write. So, I mean, it must be difficult to teach these kids how to write good questions when they're shorthanding everything and they're communicating through social media more than they're communicating face to face.
Right. And that's one part of it is writing the question, and the other part is then discussing it.
Yeah.
In a manner where they're listening to others' ideas and responding to others' ideas. That's a big push in education right now, because we know that we have to listen to other people. We have to discuss. We learn a lot more when we're talking about things. So when they write their own questions, first of all, they're more invested in discussing them. And then it just kind of everything leads to more engagement, more learning.
Yeah. And then they got to figure out that they got to listen to what the other person says and they got to take it in, because that's the other thing that I'm sure you run into with kids. And I notice it with adults now that are way too into social media and stuff like that. The algorithm will find you the thing that agrees with you. It'll suck you into your set of ideas and your way of thinking. And it will present things to you through all these different things, from the reels, from all the different, posts and everything else like that makes you feel as though, well, clearly I'm right. Look at all this stuff that it agrees with me, because the algorithms are so smart now and they want to keep you engaged on social media. So then you have these kids that are addicted to social media, or just like all the rest of us using it. They walk in, somebody presents a different idea and they go, that's not what I think, so it can't be true. Is that something you guys run into?
Yeah, I think so. But I a lot of the student discourse, they may be, we try to give them kind of talk stems, because even students, you'd be surprised that, maybe you wouldn't, since you, have had younger kids, but, get them to just engage, say more than a couple of words sometimes is very, very challenging, right? So getting them some, talk stems to kind of let's say, I agree with you because ... and you kind of fill in the blank. And so, or I disagree with you because, or I'm supporting my answer with, these facts. So all of that, it's just getting them to think through their ideas more and be able to explain their ideas more. And as you can imagine, if you can explain it more, you understand it more, and you're going to remember it more.
And the two of you were teachers before you started doing this, correct?
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
So that must make it a little bit easier to communicate with the teachers, right? Because you want to be working side by side, step with them, right? And sometimes you might come up with an idea and they might look at you like, are you sure about that? So it probably helps to be teachers that are also supporting other teachers.
Correct. And I still consider myself, we are teachers. So now we're just in a different role. But everything we do is 100% non-evaluative. We are not there to evaluate or judge anybody, but just to help teachers to reach their goals. So absolutely, we're walking side by side along with them. And I think that it does help that we have a lot of experience in the classroom ourselves.
Is this something that other schools are doing? This seems to me like something I've never heard of before, right?
It's
the idea of having an
newer,
instructor within the school that's doing support for the teachers and trying to look big picture doesn't seem like something that most schools are doing.
I do think it's most schools are having some form of it now. Yeah. So it's somewhat, I'd say, newer in the trend of education. But yeah, a lot of times some schools, we're really focusing on, instructional coaching, so instructional practices, but other ones will have kind of tech coaches and help teachers implement new technology in the classroom, or even focusing on maybe special ed with special ed teachers, or whatever the focus might be. There's different kind of instructional coaches for those purposes.
You talk about the tech, it must be something you really have to keep up with. And my kid just came back, like I said earlier, this past weekend, went to an ACT, not at his high school. And the first thing he tells me, he goes, Dad, you should see these things that they got in the classrooms. We don't have that. These kids are always paying attention to what the next big thing is, and they probably pick up the tech quicker than some of the teachers.
For sure they do. Yes. Even when I was in the classroom, if I didn't know how to do something on tech, 100% a kid did.
Yeah. So, for you guys now, as doing what you're doing, you have to kind of really keep on top of that. Is that hard?
It is, but at the same time, I think that we're in a position now where we can do that. So we have to keep up on tech. We have to keep up on instructional strategies. That's part of our job now, whereas it's just a shift in focus. As a teacher, it's really hard to manage keeping up on that, as well as managing all of your students and your grading and your contacting parents and your lesson planning. So that's another way that we can kind of focus on the technology and on those instructional strategies and help support the teachers, take something off their plate.
Yeah.
Do
you ever have a moment where you're sitting in the back of a classroom and you either learn something that you had no idea was true, or that you get something new, even though you were a teacher, or I would also imagine this would be a hard job for me, because I'd be sitting there going, yeah, but I want to say this too. I would have a hard time not jumping in because I'm a teacher and I'm watching another teacher teach. What is that like in the back?
Yeah, that's definitely an experience. I support our science teachers a lot, and I don't have a previous background in science. So the stuff I learn from their classes are just so interesting to me, and I just come from a place of curiosity. This is awesome, and through the students' eyes, let me see how this works and how it comes about. Our 8th grade science classes right now are working on this chemical reactions and diagnosing there's basically a case study where there's someone has some illness and the students are basically diagnosing throughout the whole module what's wrong with her and how can we diagnose this with chemical reactions and different chemistry. And I think it's just so interesting and so engaging.
You're showing up to help out, but you're like, yeah, I'm learning something today. Like, you're pumped up for the lesson.
Yeah, totally. I love it.
That's great.
I love it. All right. Well, Matt and Julie, I appreciate you stopping by. This is some really interesting stuff going on over at Central. Like you said, it's not something that is unique over there, but it is on the cutting edge, I would say. This is something that's a newer thing over the last couple of years, and it's kind of cool that they're doing that over there and doing their best big picture to kind of make sure the teachers are where they're supposed to be and the students are excelling, and thank you for so much that you do.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Building relationships, supporting the community, and service. These are the things that Country Financial stands for. They're more than just an office you may pass by as you drive through Evergreen Park. They're neighbors who lend a helping hand and support the fabric of your community, including charitable organizations, sports, financial education, and civic organizations. And since Country is already your neighbor, they want to get together and chat. Call your local Country Financial representative, Mike Thauer, today at 708-425-1559 to talk about the things that are important to you and how he can help you protect them. It is now time for your EP podcast, Word on the Street, brought to you by Spoken Vine Wine Bar and Bottle Shop, northeast corner of 95th and Kedzie. Incredible small plates, a wide array of wines. You find something you like, you get in the bottle shop, you take it home, bring your friends, bring a date. It's the perfect place for Valentine's Day weekend. Listen, this is one of my go-to spots. Guys, you want to impress her? Take her to Spoken Vine. See more at SpokenVineWines.com. Coming up very quickly on Saturday, February 22nd. We're almost there, kicking off at 6 p.m., going till 9:30. It is the Evergreen Park Public Library Foundation Sip and Sample fundraiser. And for $40, you got food samples from all over the South Side, beer and wine samples, some local breweries involved, live music, split the pot, prize baskets, and much more. And there are only 50 tickets left to get. Folks, they are over 3/4 sold. I'm going to be there. My friend Frank Murray wants you to be there as well. Get over to evergreenparklibrary.org. Get your tickets while you can. And Evergreen Park Community High School proudly presents Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella performances on February 28th and March 1st, 7 p.m. and March 2nd at 2 p.m. A special character lunch package is also available on Sunday. Come dressed in your princess best and take pictures with Cinderella, the prince, fairy godmother, and more. Tickets available online at EPCHSbands.org and Evergreen Park High School's Spotlight on 99th Summer Theater Camp. Registration is also open. Grades 4 through 12 invited to be part of the cast of Beetlejuice Jr. Get to that same web address to sign up now, EPCHSbands.org. And the Citizens Utility Board, along with the Village of Evergreen Park, is having a free event to advise residents on understanding electric, gas, water, and telecom bills and provide tips for reducing them. That's happening on February the 24th. A CUB counselor or an EP Public Works staff member will speak with you one-on-one between 5 p.m. and 7 p.m. at Village Hall, 9418 South Kedzie Avenue, again on the 24th of February. Get more details at evergreenpark-ill.com. Sitting down here at the 9-foot homemade oak bar, a couple of coaches over at EPCHS that have had some excellent seasons here in the winter. Winter sports kind of wrapping up. Some of them are done. Some of them are not done yet, but it's playoffs for them, I guess is what you would call it. We have from the Evergreen Park High School wrestling team, the head coach of their wrestling program, Ron Zimmerman, and then Marion Castillo's here from the dance team as well. How are you both?
We are doing great, thank you.
Yes, very well. Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Oh, of course. You know what? I'm going to start with Marion because your season just concluded with a trip downstate. Congratulations. I believe there were 30 teams downstate. Where did you guys finish up?
We finished 11th out of 30. It was a great season this year. We had an amazing time in our invitationals. We took many first place. Coming down to conference, we took third in conference. And then we went on to sectionals, and they took first place at sectionals, giving us that opportunity to go downstate to compete.
That's awesome.
Yes.
Congratulations to
Thank
you guys.
you.
And then, Ron, you guys just had regionals.
That is correct. Yep, regionals. As a team, we finished second place as a team in that region.
Okay.
And we had 11 sectional qualifiers out of the 13 kids we brought. We had 11 make it through.
That's solid.
Very solid.
I mean, it's
yeah.
pretty good right there. I mean, I know you come in second place, so I think what you were telling me is the team itself doesn't advance in the team
Correct.
part of this.
Yeah,
but
you got to win the regional as the team to
Right.
advance the team section.
But you get 11 individuals that go down there. That's pretty good heading the sectionals on that one. And
Pretty pumped.
Kind of give me an idea of this now. Okay, so there's a team competition overall, every school competing, but now you're kind of going to sit there and coach each one of your wrestlers individually, where there might actually be a moment in a tournament where they could actually face each other.
No. Everyone is separated by weight class. So, yeah. So, we have 11 weight classes out of the 14 weight classes covered. So, they're set up in a bracket, with 16, 15 other kids from other regionals that feed into the sectional, and they'll compete and move through the bracket, and the top 4 from the sectional will advance to the state tournament. And fingers crossed that we have a good number make it down this year.
Is that stressful for a coach to have all these guys in individual things, and you have to go from match after match after match, different brackets, different weight classes, trying to kind of schedule it, and you kind of have to coach them up, and then whatever happens, you probably have to move immediately to the next guy.
Yes. Yeah, we're all over the gym floor. Myself and my assistant, Dave Pierce, man, we are busy guys at the tournaments. A lot of stressed voices, a lot of headaches when we get home. But yeah, it's all worth it. It's fun. It's watching the kids wrestle. It's why we do it. Getting those kids down to the state tournament is the goal now.
Yeah, I've heard a lot about both of your programs. Marion, it was, I want to say, one of the parents or a couple of the parents that have kids in your program reached out to me originally and were like, you got to hear about the dance team because they're really good. And I don't think people really get how accomplished this team is. And you were explaining to me beforehand that a lot of kids don't try out because they think, I can't do that. But in reality, nobody on your team knew how to do that until they got in there and you coached them up.
Correct. I feel that as they see the team perform at the end of the season during their competitive season, they have learned so much throughout the summer and the fall that they have reached that point. Coming in, none of them could do a somersault roll. They were just different things as we're going. And I feel that my 2 assistants, Crystal Castillo and Jasmine Davis, help us develop them into what they are today. So we always tell, don't think that you can. If you have that will and you want to learn, this is a team to be on.
And is this one of those programs like this? The way that I heard it, this feels like one of those programs that is getting a little bit bigger. And if they could just get the word out about it, you feel like it can grow. And you've already gotten downstate. So to say that you can grow into something bigger than coming in 11 out of 30 in the state, that's a tall order, but an exciting thing to hear about, correct?
Correct. And our team is a unskilled team. They come in, no dance experience at all. When we go down to sectionals into state, we are competing against teams that have years of experience, who have been dancing since they've been in grade school. And for us just to achieve that accomplishment, to get to state, and then to make it to that second day with only those 12 teams advancing is amazing. And we were the only hip hop team that advanced in the top 12.
Is there like an alternative rock team too?
I gotta say something. I gotta say the dance team, because when we leave practice, I mean, they're sometimes setting up or just getting going. They're
wrestlers kind of puff out their chest at that point.
No, not
evening, ladies. You guys gonna be dancing?
No, they are there. They are there putting in the work, and I got a lot of those kids in class and stuff like that, and I got practice today. I go, oh, what time are you guys going to get out of practice today? Kind of, you got dinner ready to rock and roll. Those girls work. really, really hard.
That's awesome. And your group, I would imagine, they are coming in with some skills. I remember when I was younger, there were kids that were trying out for wrestling in high school that might not have done it in grammar school, where now I know so many families just in my neighborhood here in which the kids start when they're in the 4th grade and they've been wrestling for a while. What's it like for you?
I wish that was the case at Evergreen Park.
Really? Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's a couple here and there that we get in with some experience. We have a nice freshman this year, Lucas Landry, who's coming in with some experience. One of our main guys, Chance Woods, he came in with some good experience. We have a lot of kids who zero. Freshman year is my feeder program.
Okay.
For some most of the kids, for I would say 90% of our kids. And then again, the lower level coaches get them dialed in, and summer camps and our off-season wrestling stuff that we do gets them prepared for JV, and then the varsity level. Our main goal is developing these kids when they're freshmen to be able to compete on the mat as juniors and seniors on varsity. It's nice. We do have the Evergreen Park Panthers in our room now 3 days a week, but this is only their 3rd year in our room. So we are starting to see a little extra kickback from that.
Okay.
But
that's a younger group?
It's a youth program that we have. Yep. But they're Evergreen Park kids, they're Chicago kids, Oak Lawn kids. I mean, they're not just EP kids there. So we're starting to see some more of that. But I wish we saw a bunch earlier on, but we're busy developing young wrestlers into kids that want to be on the mats. So.
That's awesome. I mentioned how I heard about Marion's program. Yours, I heard about from other coaches. Like Coach Ram has brought you up to me when he comes in the show. Jim Sexton's brought you up to me. I mean, you're getting a little bit of buzz among some of the other coaches in the high school. Is that because the program is growing? Is that the accomplishments that we're seeing here now in the postseason?
We got
You're just a guy who buys dinner all the time for these guys? Or why they love you?
No, I mean, recruiting. I mean, there's not a kid that I don't talk to in that building to come out for wrestling. Last year we started with almost 80 kids. This year we were around 60, 65-ish. We're starting to get a women's program going. We started with 10 girls on the team this year. We finished with about 7 or 8. So, just getting the word out, getting kids up in the room. Because again, a lot of them don't even really know what it's all about. They don't understand, wrestling. I'm like, hey, if you have some athleticism, let us teach you the ropes, man. Let us get you going. And then all of a sudden they use that athleticism with a little bit of teaching, coaching, and they start winning.
Yeah.
And they're hooked. Then they're hooked. Then we have them. And now let's get the skill base down, and most of it's the toughness down of the sport. It's tough.
It's physical contact.
It's fighting. It's fighting with rules.
That's the thing. It's fighting with rules. Like I'll just give you a little insight into something I saw this past weekend. I got a nephew that's at a different school, lives in Beverly, and he points out to me the other day like that him and his friends are putting on like boxing gear and they're just sparring in some kid's basement. And they're so excited about the fact they're doing it. And I made a joke like, yeah, we used to meet up at the tracks or something and actually really fight. But I think that for some kids in this generation, not all, but some of them, that's probably the first real physical fight that they've ever been in when they're training wrestling with you.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's
a little different.
I mean, you could tell.
Look, it's good that we've raised everybody to be kinder and gentler to each other, and I'm not saying anything against it.
Right.
But you probably see it like this the first time.
Yeah,
like the kid's probably looking at you like, am I allowed to throw this guy in the ground? You're like, yes.
I mean, there's some kids we got to ask. Like, hey, man, have you ever been in like a real fight before? Like a real scrap in the backyard with your buddy that you guys got mad at each other and you just started throwing blows? And some kids say, well, no, I've never been in a fight. I'm like, well, this is... You got to be physical, man, and some kids get it right away. Some kids are like, try it for a year, coach, thanks, but no thanks, not for me. They move on to something else, and we want the kids who are tough, man, and that's...
Wrestling's a tough sport.
It's a tough sport.
You got to be tough. Marion, yours, is it... What's the quality you want the most out of somebody who's coming off your team? Rhythm, because I don't have very much of that.
All we want is that
memory?
dedication.
What dedication?
Dedication and determination. We don't ask them to have experience to be on the team. When we have tryouts, We clearly put on there no experience necessary. We have 2 levels. We have a JV and a varsity. And, so you have that opportunity. My lower level coaches coach them so well. By the time they hit their second year, the majority of them do move up to varsity, which have that great opportunity and experience. But everything we do with the teams, we do together. All our competitions are together. All our outings are together. We never separate them. And that's one of the good things that I feel that keep them together as a bond. This year we're losing 5 seniors, and 4 of them are very, very dear to our hearts because they've been in our program for all 4 years. We have 3 that were on varsity from their freshman year till now, and then we have 1 that was on JV for 2 years and moved up her senior year. So you have that opportunity to move up. Like I said, it's always very intimidating when you see them performing at mid-season of their competitive, because you're like, oh my God, I can't do that. But you can. You got to put that effort. They put that effort in throughout their summer and their fall. And by the time you know it, look at you. My captains are always like, I cannot believe I did this.
Yeah, I would say the thing that I would have the hardest time with on a dance team is remembering the actual choreography, because I'd be halfway through and turn the wrong way, wouldn't you? Like everybody be going this way and I'd be going over here. And I'm
telling you, man, they practice. They practice. I don't want to go into steal your, but like they're in there. They're in there. Oh man, and it's one of the hardest working programs in the whole school.
Football season, I feel, is that point when they are out on the football field performing, is when you're learning to perform in front of people. You're learning. So if you're making mistakes, it's good. Like, make it, get over it. Let's move on. Let's make it bigger and better next time. That's our football season, is our prep season.
That's
getting
awesome.
them to get used to that performance level. So once we get into competitive during the winter, they're like, oh, I got this now. I can do this, because everyone is so much closer to you than when you're out on a football field.
So, Ron, before I let you guys go,
yes.
A question that's eating at me here.
Okay.
How many kids that show up for wrestling think that it's WWE? And do you want them to not watch that at all, or is it fun for them to watch?
Do not watch that at all.
I mean, do you get a kid that walks in every once in a while, wants to cut a promo before he goes and wrestles, or what?
I'm sure there's 1 or 2 kids that walk up and are like, "There's no ropes, there's no ring. What are these? They
want intro music when they come out.
Yeah, which that would be cool. I mean, that would be cool. But yeah, no, stay away from that stuff. It's you go watch it on, what is it, Monday Night Raw or whatever it's called.
I think it's on every night.
Is it on every night now?
If first it's WWE, then you got AEW. There's so many wrestling programs now. It's everywhere.
That's not wrestling.
Yeah,
it's
not wrestling.
It's Hollywood, whatever you want to call it.
I don't know. A well-placed rock bottom in one of your wrestling matches would be pretty interesting to see.
Yeah.
Ron Zimmerman is the head coach of the Evergreen Park High School wrestling team. Good luck.
Thank you.
To all of your members in regionals, and congratulations, Marion, to you and your group for getting down to state and placing 11th out of 30th in that program, growing as well as the wrestling program. Thank you both so much for stopping by.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
It's the EP Podcast, all things Evergreen Park. It's the EP Podcast, Evergreen Park.